Hi everyone and welcome to today's podcast. But first let us introduce our members. We are from Group 2. I'm Chin Ken Woon, who is the moderator for the podcast today. Then we have Chai Li Jun, Lee Min Jade, So Wei, and Wo Jia Huan. We're going to dive into a topic that's super important for many Malaysians, which is the home ownership. Okay. And it's something almost everyone dream of, but it's not always easy to make happen. Whether it's buying your first home or upgrading to a new one, there's a lot to think about. Just to give you an idea, let's look at this data. Give me a second. Yeah, let's look at this data from the government 2019 housing report. Malaysia relatively high on home ownership rate masks an important fact. There's a significant proportion of households that do not own home in Klang Valley. As of 2019, home ownership rate in Selangor and Kuala Lumpur are 69.7% and 63.3% respectively, which are considerably lower than the national coverage of 76.9%. So this actually highlights just how challenging it is for many to own a home in more urbanized area like this. So today we'll explore why owning a home is so important, the challenge people face, and how we can overcome them. So to start things off, why do you think owning a home is so important for people? What makes it a goal for so many?
Well, owning a home gives you security. It's not just about having a place to live. It's about having a permanent base. When you own a home, you are not at the mercy of rising rents or landlords. Plus, it can be an investment. Over time, the value of your property might increase and it can give you financial stability. A lot of families I know are stuck in apartments because the cost of upgrading to a house in the city is just way too high. So they can't find the balance between affordability and proximity.
Yeah, I totally agree. For families, owning a home is important because it provides a stable environment for kids to grow up in. There's a sense of belongings that renting can quite offer, and for many, owning a home is seen as a milestone in life. It's a sign of success and independence.
Okay, right. So it's about much more than just a physical space. It's about long-term security and social stability. But even though it's such a big deal, buying a home isn't always easy. So let's talk about what factors people consider when choosing a home. There are so many things to think about. What do you think is the most important factor when picking a house?
Well, one of the first things people usually think about is the location. This is the most important when we're choosing a house. As we know, the KL has a lot of job opportunity compared to other states. So of course, the pricing of house in Malaysia, of course, the KL have the most expensive pricing. So if you are working in a city like Kuala Lumpur, you might want to be close to your office or public transport. But sometimes being close to work means paying a premium price for their location. So this slide, we know that Kuala Lumpur has Malaysia's most expensive housing. The average price of ringgit is about 780,000, and the cheapest Malaysia house is found in Malacca with an average price of 233,000. So as we mentioned, the most expensive price is in the Kuala Lumpur. When we compare like the area like Mont Karia, for instance, in Mont Karia properties like Sunny Mont Karia and the Estate can exit around 1.5 million to 2.5 million for standard unit. For another house like Semenyih, it might be the half price they are fed up. You can find a terrace house in the element like Setia Eco Hills price from around 545,000. Moreover, in the Mont Karia, the Semenyih, you have the house Bandar reaching. You may find the semi-detached home price around 750,000. Do you think it's worth living further out to save on cost?
I think it really depends on the person lifestyle. If you are someone who values peace and quiet, live a little further out might be worth the extra travel time. But for others, being close to work and family is a higher priority. It's a personal choice, but price is definitely a big factor.
Yeah, and that's also the factor of public services like schools and hospitals. If you have got a family or plan on having one, proximity to good school and hospital is a huge consideration. You don't want to have to travel far just to get healthcare or take your kids to school.
Exactly. Then of course there's price. A lot of people set their budget first and look for something they can afford. But even if you can technically afford it, the price of a house can be overwhelming when you factor in things like taxes, maintenance, and utilities. How do you all approach setting a budget?
Well, for me, I think it's essential to set a strict budget and also prioritize the affordability. I know sometimes it is easier to get carried away and look at properties in the upper range of our budget, but it's wise for the long run to manage to stay within our means. Furthermore, having a house also means expenses not stated in the question of how much does a house cost. For instance, we will always have to spend extra money on stuff like repairs or on overly expensive utility bills, which if we do not plan it carefully, it may sometimes become overwhelming for us.
That's a great point. And let's not forget about the personal needs. Some people might need more space for a growing family, while others might want something smaller for a simpler lifestyle. So what's more important for you, finding something that fits your current needs or something that could accommodate future needs?
For me, I prioritize finding something that fits my current needs. I think it's easier to adjust and make future plans than to stretch your budget too thin by buying a bigger house that you might not need right now.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And then there's eligibility. Do you even qualify to buy a home? If you are a first-time buyer or someone who doesn't earn a lot, you might need to rely on government schemes or loans. But even with this, it can still be hard to get approved, right?
Definitely, there's so much red tape, and banks are picky about who they lend money to. For younger people, especially, it is difficult to have enough savings or a strong enough credit history to qualify for a home loan.
Yeah, those eligibility requirements can be a huge roadblock for us. So it's tough for first-time buyers who are just starting out and might not have all the qualification in place. So now that we have discussed factors in influence the home choice, let's talk about some of the big issues people face in today's housing market.
So one of the biggest barriers for home ownership is financial issue, such as insufficient income to afford a house. I recently read an article by The Age Malaysia. It stated that the average house pricing to be affordable, and a household would need to earn 10,757 per month. However, according to the recent data from the most recent DOSM study, 78% of Malaysia household reside in cities and makes less than 10,000 per month, while 41% of all households make less than 5,000 per month. Also, almost 60% of rejected house loan applications were recorded by Bank Negara Malaysia in 2018. Imagine saving for years only to be turned down by the bank.
Yeah, right. And even for those who get approved, there's the matter of interest rate. Look at this example on the screen. Imagine that we have a loan of 500,000 house at a 4% interest rate, which means we gotta pay an extra 400,000 in interest over 30 years. That's practically enough for us to buy for 2 houses.
And even if you get the loan, there's still the issue of interest rate. which can make the things more expensive in the long run. For many, the idea of paying off a mortgage for 20 or 30 years feels overwhelming because the expenses we face are not just limited to paying off the loan. There are other expenses that have to factor in. Based on the Household Expenditure Survey Report Malaysia's 2022 that was provided by DOSM in 2022, the average monthly household consumption expenditure in Malaysia was 5,150 ringgit. The largest portions of spending was allocated to house, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels, which accounted for 23.2% of the total. Food and non-alcoholic beverage made up to 16.3%, followed closely by restaurant and accommodation service at 16.1%.
Exactly. And on top of financial issues, there's also the quality issues of the house itself. Most of the low-cost homes are made with cheaper materials, which are not durable or long-lasting as the higher quality options. There have been many issues on the quality of low-cost housing in Malaysia, such as poor management of the maintenance work, poor workmanship, and low quality of the material used, which causes many defects such as crack and dampness. Over time, these issues can require frequent repairs or replacement, adding to the overall cost of maintaining the home. Do you think people should settle for lower quality homes just to get a foot on the property ladder?
I think that's a tough one. For some, owning any home is better than not owning at all, but the quality issues can lead to expensive repairs later. It's a trade-off, really.
Speaking of trade-off, the housing market is consistently changing. 1 minute house prices are soaring, the next they are dropping. How do you think the people should navigate the unpredictabilities, especially when the impacts of COVID-19 economic pressure have caused some buyers to delay their purchases? On the other hand, changes in lifestyle and low interest rate have driven increased demand of specific types of properties.
It's stressful for sure sometimes. Waiting to buy a house feels like a gamble, especially when the market is volatile. If people are waiting for the perfect moment, they might miss out.
And beyond that, not everyone knows the full process of buying a home. There's lots of paperwork, loan options, and legal stuff that can confuse first-time buyers. Do you think there should be more education on the home buying process?
Well, definitely. People need to know what they are getting into before they make such a big decision. Financial literacy is a key solution or classes that will teach how to budget, understand the terms of loans, and grasp the current housing market will actually be really helpful to prepare buyers for this decision. We definitely can claim that knowledge actually did take away some of the pressure and confusion in such a huge life decision. So, what can we do about this? Look at this chart on the screen. It shows how government housing initiative by offering more inclusive housing scheme or subsidies like the Rumah program have helped over 40,000 Malaysians secure affordable home in the last year. I believe that by expanding this initiative and creating better awareness could totally make a big difference, especially for those who are the first-time buyer or the low-income buyer.
Also, take a look at these examples. Countries like Singapore use government-built flats with subsidized prices to ensure most of citizens own a home. In Malaysia, adopting similar strategies could help bridge the affordability gap.
I think that's the key. A lot of people don't even know what they need to do to qualify for a loan. So getting that information out there will be really useful.
Yeah, another solution could be more government initiative through better financial guidance. Right now, we notice that there are some programs for first-time buyers, but they don't reach everyone. So if the government could introduce better loan rates or more accessible programs like workshops or online courses that could teach those potential first-time or even low-income buyers how to manage their finance effectively and understand their loan option, I think that will really help them a lot.
And technology could also play a role. New building technologies like industrial building system (IBS) can help reduce construction costs, which might make homes more affordable in the long run.
So these are all great suggestions. So in conclusion, buying a home is a huge challenge, but it's not impossible. With better education, more support from the government, and new technologies, we can basically make home ownership a reality for some people, for more people.
Exactly. Anyone thinking of buying should plan earlier, get educated on the process, and take advantage of any programs that are available. If you are a first-time buyer, always explore government loan schemes, but don't just stop there. Make sure you are checking out lesser known options like the My First Home scheme, which is specifically designed to help young buyers.
Yeah, and don't forget to consider your needs and budget carefully. Buying a house is a huge commitment, so make sure that it is the right time and place for you.
Hey, so thanks for tuning in to today's discussion on home ownership. We hope you find it useful, and catch you next time, and good luck with your house hunting.